owning a car is like a dream for a lot of people. Yeah, and when you have your first car and it's going to be a Volkswagen electric vehicle, um, having that companion with you, which provides you this experience of being connected to your car and being there to support your careers, like you said, it just goes beyond just being inside the car. And I think with voice assistants, it's definitely, I think it's the best channel to connect to your brand.
Welcome back, VoiceBot Nation. I'm Brett Kinsella, founder of VoiceBot.ai, and your host for 10 Minutes On, a series where we explore the latest innovations in voice AI use cases. Today, we turn our attention to the automotive industry. My guest today is Sanket Shinde from CARIAD. It's part of the Volkswagen Group. And welcome, Sanket.
Hi, Brett. Glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, really glad to have you here today. So I think what we should start out with is you have a relatively new custom voice AI solution. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what your objectives were for that solution and how you deployed it.
Right. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about why we started was speed. Speed, agility, and well, again, speed with which we could change things. These were the biggest challenges, and we thought, okay, where do we go? What platform do we choose for? Obviously, being a vehicle manufacturer, the car is like at the center point for us, but this time we chose to go with the app. I am involved more into the digital services part of the business, and the app was very close to me. And we decided, all right, let's go with the app. I mean, like the car keys travel further than a car, and so does a cell phone, and that's what our customer is always with. And we decided, all right, we're going to give a utility function or an interesting modality like voice speech and put it on a device that the customer carries the most, right? So that was the initial idea why we chose to go with an iPhone, with a cell phone or a smartphone. Yeah.
Right. So I've done a lot of research on this. And one of the things we noticed a few years ago in the automotive industry is there were emerging two different types of application categories in automotive. One was inside the car and the other was outside the car. And so in this case, you supplemented the inside the car capabilities with an outside the car solution. So what were the core use cases that you were trying to deploy?
Well, we focused again on a specific area of our business. Um, for Volkswagen Group, electromobility is very important, and we said, all right, charging, electromobility, and FAQs about the electromobility and vehicles is something that is important to the customers. Like electric cars have been there for a long time. VW is now making them mainstream, making it more reachable, and we said, all right, we're going to be having a lot of users. We're going to be having a lot of first-time users. So let's focus on such use cases. Therefore, we said, all right, what's more important when you drive an electric car? If I were to drive an electric car, I'd be, let me say openly, a little bit anxious about the range. I mean, that's the question that people always have. And I'd be like, where can I charge? And can I drive with my car through a car wash? Would it explode? Or what is the state of charge of my car? I'm going to be paranoid about that, right? Like, because with internal combustion engine you can drive further. With like EVs, it's a thing that you have because it's a technology that's not been adapted as much as you have previously. We said, all right, let's pacify the customers, because in most cases that's really not a big deal. I mean, you drive 600 kilometers every week, the car basically does not need to be charged again, right? But we needed to have a point where people could ask these questions, and we therefore focus on these use cases: finding charging stations, getting the state of of charge of your ID vehicle, and also generic FAQs like, is my car going to explode if I drive through a car wash? Which it doesn't, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you need to answer that question just in case. Um, Okay, so you decided to solve those specific use cases, which makes sense, and people can interact with that anywhere. Why was it important for you to have a voice interactive solution as opposed to just touch and swipe?
Well, I personally don't like typing. I mean, I said it's if I have very simple question, I just want to get the answer. Like I don't want to like open the phone, search it, or type it. I even you may say like I really am not a big fan of even typing queries into the browser. If it's a simple question and I just need to know where is a charging station that I can charge my car with, I just want to know. And I think voice is the easiest way to do it. Your device can be lying somewhere, but you can just talk to it and it just gives you what you want. So it was basically um, a choice that we didn't have to put a lot of thought into.
Yeah, fair enough. So the other thing I thought was interesting is, Volkswagen obviously has an in-car voice assistant that in many of the models, and you chose not to use that. I think you selected a Voicify solution to implement in the mobile app, and I'm interested in why you didn't just extend what you had in the car into the mobile app and you went this different route.
I'd like to go back to the first point that I made is flexibility and speed. For us, it was very important that if we build a voice experience, that it is easily deployable on several other endpoints that we might have. And like I also said, that I'm more in the digital business. We work with several digital front ends, like the app being one of them, and we have several apps. And on top of that, we have websites, and on top of that, we have internal systems like Microsoft Teams, etc. So when I started off this project, it was primarily focusing on building a voice platform which would help you build a voice experience once and deploy it everywhere. Um, with the platform and with the infrastructure that we have for digital assistants as of today in the car, um, we could use and we couldn't do that. And this was the biggest inflexibility that we had with it, and therefore we decided to look at something that does fit what we have set for us as a goal. And I think at that point, Voicify was a fitting solution, and it was actually it actually offered the ability to build the voice experience once and deploy that at different endpoints. So it was a natural choice. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Particularly a lot of organizations like yours face some constraints when you have something particularly that's embedded in a product like the automobile in this case, uh, that there's all these other requirements that they have, and then that can inhibit the way that you can use it. So this sounds like a way that it enabled you to be more nimble with what you're doing. I'm also interested in what you're learning from this process. So now you have users out there employing the voice assistant in the mobile app, and how does that change the way that you think about the development of new applications or refining the solution over time?
Right. I mean, yes, you're right. We have a lot of regulations which are set forth to us, at least here in Europe, where we have to make sure what sort of notifications and what sort of voice experiences we develop when we talk about the infotainment. Um, Fortunately, those are not the things that we have to really worry about in the sense, or let me say, we don't have to limit ourselves to that when we take a platform like a smartphone. It does give us a lot of flexibility to work with it, kind of in the way of what use cases we can do, how can we present it in front of the customer, and the speed with which we can do. For example, a short change in a use case in the car might take substantially longer as compared to a small content update in terms of delivering multimedia directly over a smartphone, for example. Um, it also serves as a channel which we also used to correlate with the events in the way our customers are using our applications. We use this information to further develop customer insights, further make data-driven product decisions, which also goes back to the majority part of this front end that customers see. But we do use customer data with their consent in order to improve it, or even look for other use cases that we can add into the voice user interface or into the voice AI that we've built inside the WeConnect ID app.
So, in terms of other use cases, how do you see this evolving in terms of how customers are interacting with this beyond uh, s- start charging stations and some of the other things that you've focused on so far?
The natural choice of voice assistants, we could do all. We can think of a lot of fancy use cases, but at the end of the day, our customers are interested in simple, mundane things. Like they have a lot of questions about certain things, and these questions, they need to be answered. All right. Since we build a car, we are the people who can answer the questions correctly. So currently, we have call centers where our customers will call, they would speak about their problems, and hopefully get a solution. It works quite cool. But there are certain things that you don't have to really call a call center, wait in the queue for a really long time to just get a simple answer as to how do I register my services, my digital services into the car? How do I connect my car to the internet? What is the registration process, etc. So what we are doing essentially is we look at these cases where our customers are calling our call centers, and we try to bring in that content, such as, let's say, if we call them FAQs, which we constantly get over the phone calls, and add them over here onto the Voice AI and Reconnect ID, thereby increasing our content bandwidth and basically trying to give a customer an interface for the questions that are really important to them at the point without having for them to wait for a really long time. It kind of also gives a feeling that this is your center point to the ecosystem inside the car. This is a single point where you can actually go in and ask for your questions about your new car and get reliable information. That's the goal. That's what we want to develop to an extent that people don't even notice it, and people don't have, for certain cases, the need to call the call center.
Right. Yeah. And then obviously the benefit of deflecting those calls, but also increasing customer experience at the same time. I think this is a really fascinating use case. There's been talk in the automotive industry for a long time now about the driving experience and then the ownership experience beyond the driving experience. And a lot of that is focused on what happens at the dealership, for example, when they're going through service. But I think this is another area where we're going to see a lot more expansion in the automotive industry, where we have this idea that you have a car, and interacting with your car is not always about being in the car. And this seems really interesting to me. And I think this is a direction that the car is going to be headed in, and all automakers are going to be following this.
Absolutely. I mean, I really like the point that you made. Like the car, um, owning a car is like a dream for a lot of people. Yeah, and when you have your first car and it's going to be a Volkswagen electric vehicle, um, having that companion with you, which provides you this experience of being connected to your car and being there to support your careers, like you said, it just goes beyond just being inside the car. And I think with voice assistants, it's definitely, I think it's the best channel to connect to your brand. And also, there's a lot of machine learning and AI goes on a side note as well, which the customers do not really experience directly. I think voice AI is one of the forms of AI where the customer can like have the first interface and have the first interaction with directly.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Sanket, thank you so much for sharing your experience deploying a custom voice assistant in the car or for the car.
Thanks for your time.
Hey everyone, I'm Brett Kinsella, founder of VoiceBot.ai, but you already know that. Please like and subscribe to this channel. That'll help us with YouTube's algorithm, and you'll get notified every time the next 10 minutes on video drops.